Can you introduce yourself and share a little about who you are today?
I'm Jen Kohlenberger. I'm a local business owner, and I also run a nonprofit scholarship organization for women.
How long has it been since you completed the program here at Solstice?
I started the program at Solstice in September of 2021, and I finished in February of the following year.
And what does your life look like for you now?
My life looks a lot simpler, actually. Not that I have less things going on, but just managing my symptoms of my mental health diagnoses has gotten a lot simpler for me because I have the right tools. And so it's easier for me to rest at night. It's easier for me to get up in the morning and face the day and all of the things that I have to do. Just because I have all of the resources that I need to make my life a lot more manageable.
All right, Jen, what was life like for you before you started your journey here at Solstice in 2021?
So I've built my life to be very busy on purpose. I like being busy. I like having a lot of things going on, and it's good, but it also got to be somewhat unmanageable considering the anxiety on top of everything else. So I think that I was using, my work and my volunteer work and relationships and social activities and things to kind of distract from things that I didn't want to deal with. And I've had anxiety since I was a child. I was diagnosed with obsessive compulsive disorder in 2009. And I think shortly after that time, a lot of the symptoms just became nearly unmanageable. So all of the things that I was involved with and that I was doing started to suffer, and I wasn't really able to meet all of my responsibilities and my obligations because anxiety was really overtaking my life.
So what made you finally decide to get help?
I found myself having daily panic attacks, sometimes multiple times a day. And so I think for a long time, I had this mindset of, it's not that bad. I can still get up and do all the things that I'm supposed to do and be all the things that I'm supposed to be to people, until I wasn't and I couldn't. So the panic attacks were becoming so unmanageable, and I found myself calling 911 regularly or driving myself to the emergency room, just out of fear that there was something really wrong with me. And there were days where I thought like I must be dying, which sounds dramatic, but like that's where my brain would go. And so I realized that I just couldn't continue that way without doing something different.
Was there a specific moment when you realized you needed something to change, or was it a buildup of moments?
If I think of one instance, I'm a hairdresser, and I actually was with a client who, had product on their hair that needed to be washed out, like chemicals, color product on their hair. And I became so distressed and so overwhelmed with anxiety and physiological symptoms leading up to panic that I couldn't actually finish the service. Like I had to step away. I had to ask them to, give me grace and be patient while I stepped out. And I think in that moment I realized like I can't even do my job. I can't, keep this person safe, in the way that it needs to be done in this setting. Like I can't live like this anymore because it's no longer just impacting me, it's impacting the people around me.
What felt hard or scary about taking that first step in seeking help?
I don't know that I was necessarily scared to take a first step in getting help. What was hard about it was the idea that I had to put things on hold. Because I work for myself, I couldn't really fathom taking time away from work to get the help that I needed because it would impact me so greatly financially. So I think that the decision, I lived in so much fear anyway of, things that were irrational. So there wasn't a lot of fear in getting help, but it was more just the idea and how difficult it would be for me to actually set aside that much time to take care of this issue.
How did you feel walking in to Solstice on your first day?
I was hopeful, obviously, that this was going to be the right place for me, but honestly, I just had trouble getting up to the clinic because I actually didn't take elevators, and the clinic is on the 4th floor. So I had to make a decision whether to get in an elevator, which is something that I didn't do because I had a phobia and a fear of panic in an elevator and getting stuck, or walking that 4 flights of stairs, which would make me out of breath and then potentially have anxiety over shortness of breath, which is a problem that I also had. So I was just focused on being able to like physically get in the door. But beyond that, yeah, I was just hopeful that this was going to be different than the other help that I had tried to get in the past.
Besides getting through the door, did you have any other hesitations at the beginning of the program?
I think my biggest hesitation was kind of wrapping my head around how much of this program is group therapy. I think when you're really struggling and you want to get better as quickly as possible, you have this idea that like you need one-on-one help. You need a therapist with you working on your specific issues all day. And so I think having a better understanding of what I was getting into, I was nervous that like, would this work? Because how is group therapy going to help me in the way that I thought I needed help? So that was my biggest hesitation.
And then what helped you push through those early nerves?
Honestly, I think the thing that helped me push through any nerves that I had was just, I was desperate at that point for help. So even things I was nervous about or concerned about, I don't think I had the capacity to really give them much energy. I just came in very open to whatever I could get out of this because I was here out of desperation.
Do you think that openness was crucial to your success here in the program?
I do. I think being open to, what the program has to offer is really important to getting everything out of it that you can. I think if I had come here maybe even just sooner or against my will, I know there's people who come here because they've been encouraged by family or friends or other providers. If I had come here and not been open to the help, I think it would have been much more of a struggle for me. So while being at that place is not nice, it's not a good place to be, it doesn't feel good, it did set me up for success because I just was I had surrendered.
What surprised you most about your time here at Solstice?
I think what surprised me most about my time at Solstice was how much I got out of group therapy, because that was something that I was skeptical of and didn't really see value in necessarily in the beginning. It's amazing how much I got out of that because you learn life skills that honestly I feel like every person should have these groups and learning experiences, unless you're someone who has someone in your life who's like been therapized and has passed on to you these wonderful skills and this knowledge. Like people don't learn these things. So, through group therapy, I learned about boundaries and codependency and cognitive distortions and all this stuff that like really gives you a lot of knowledge about how human beings operate. And I feel like everyone should have that information.
What does a typical day look like here at Solstice when you attended?
So a typical day looked like me struggling to get up on time to get here so early. But it was good, put me on a better schedule. And so we have, group sessions, we have breaks in between. Usually, depending on the day of the week, I had one-on-one session with my case manager. So depending on what day of week it was, I would have one-on-one with my case manager. I had sessions with a dietitian and with either Dr. Turner or Brianna for medication management, doing vitals, just a lot of people checking in on me, which was great. And then lunch, which was time that we could even socialize with each other, you know, other patients outside of the groups, and then close out the day and head home. And then when I was able to level up to IOP, I would leave here and I was able to slowly integrate my daily activities back in. So I started taking clients and trying to see what it would look like to manage work part-time and still doing treatment.
How was that balance going back from being PHP to IOP and then bringing your work back in? How was that balancing it, but also how did it feel while being in treatment, but also going back to your day-to-day life?
Sure. I think the way that this program is set up, where you start ideally in PHP and then level up to IOP, it's really important for transitioning back into your regular daily routine. It's a huge difference when you come to PHP and you're spending 8 hours a day in treatment. Like it's a major life change. And so the idea of taking kind of the skills and the knowledge that you gain from that and applying it into your regular daily life, that transition period going from a full day to a half day and then being able to start having more of those regular things brought back in, it's crucial to the success of your treatment and your ongoing journey. And it makes it a lot easier for when you're done with IOP and you're going back to real life to kind of take the new schedule and the new routine and implement it and bring kind of all of it together so you can be successful moving forward.
Mm-hmm. So speaking of the group sessions that you would have, what was helpful or therapeutic about that group environment?
What was really helpful for me in the group environment was not only being able to share my experience and what I was going through with, essentially complete strangers who have a lot of different perspectives. It was helpful to feel like other people could relate. And at the same time, it was helpful to have people sometimes challenge what I shared, like my thoughts or my feelings about things. That's not something necessarily that you always have the opportunity to do in regular life. So it was very unique in that way. And obviously having a facilitator with the clinical background was able to kind of allow the group to happen organically, but keep it focused on, what we were supposed to get out of it. So it was a really unique and wonderful experience for me that I had not had in any other aspect of my life.
So you had previously mentioned that throughout your day when you were in PHP, you'd have Dr. Turner and Brianna and case managers and dietitians come and check on you. How else did the staff and case managers support you rather than doing like daily check-ins?
I think what makes Solstice really unique is your care team and how they support you. It really feels like you are all on a team and you all have the same goal in mind, which is your health and your well-being. One of the ways that I felt incredibly supported by the team here was when I was approved by the team to do TMS for my particular diagnoses, but my insurance denied the coverage, and TMS is not a treatment that I could afford out of pocket. So I felt very kind of defeated and devastated by that news because it was something that I really wanted to do. And they fought for me. They looked at why the insurance company denied the coverage and came back to me with information and said, hey, look, this is what we're going to do together to try to appeal this and to make sure you get the treatment that you should get. And it was successful, and I was able to do TMS, which I'm so grateful for. That's just one of the ways where I really felt like everyone was really on my team and fighting for me and for my health. And I'm not necessarily sure that's always the case. And the other thing is they listen to my concerns, and they really respected what I wanted. So going into this, I really wanted to be off of medication eventually. I wanted to be able to manage my symptoms, my diagnoses without medication. It was really important to me. And in the past, I had seen providers who said, like, that's just not possible. And everyone here said, if that's what you want, we will do what we can to make that a reality. And I was very grateful for that.
What tools, skills, or resources stood out the most to you during your time here?
The tools that stood out the most to me here are definitely the coping skills that I learned. Coming into treatment, I didn't really even understand what a coping skill was. And to be honest, when I did learn, things like 5 senses grounding, I thought, okay, that's so simple and that's so silly. Like, that is not going to help me through my anxiety. But I was wrong. And so I left here with a toolbox full of coping skills that have been extremely beneficial to me in all sorts of scenarios, but specifically with helping me through my anxiety and OCD symptoms. And so that was surprising, because like some of the most simple things can help your brain change and grow and adapt.
What is one of the biggest lessons you learned during the program?
One of the biggest lessons I've learned during my time in the program was the importance of scheduling in the things that you want to get done in a day. Time won't just present itself for self-care or coping or healthy behaviors. You have to be intentional about your day. You have to intentionally set time aside for these things that you need to do. Maybe they're not even things that you necessarily want to do, but that you need to do to make sure that your journey is successful. And so that's definitely something I learned here. And I think because being in PHP requires you to have that schedule, like they don't really give you a choice when you come here. You have a schedule now. This is your life now. But like taking that and experiencing it and realizing how impactful it was for my healing, and then carrying that forward with me into life after the program, that's something that's invaluable. And so yeah, you got to make time for the things that matter.
Can you share a moment when you faced a setback and what resilience looked like for you?
A moment when I faced a setback during my time in treatment was probably about a month into the program. I actually a lot of my symptoms were alleviating, and I recognized, because I was tracking every day, that I did not have a panic attack, because I was having them daily, sometimes multiple times a day. Like even one day going by without having one was monumental. So I had gone 11 days without a panic attack, and it really felt like, this is it. Like, I'm not having these anymore. And then I had one, and I remember feeling incredibly defeated. Like, I'm doing all the right things. I'm following all of the advice. I'm doing everything I'm supposed to be doing, and I was doing so well until now. And now it felt like everything stopped and I had to start back at the beginning. And what I realized is like that moment is exactly why people say that progress is not linear. Because while I had, been progressing, like just because I had a panic attack didn't send me all the way back to the beginning. It was just like a dip. And then I get to start back where I was the next day. And just because I had a panic attack that day doesn't mean that I'm going to have one the next day. And it doesn't mean that I am going to have one ever again. Like, there's uncertainty there that I just have to be okay with. And so I think that really, it was pivotal in my understanding of like what this is going to look like moving forward. And just because you have a bad day doesn't mean that nothing you did up until that point matters anymore. It doesn't erase it. It doesn't take away all the good days. It's just a setback, and you start over the next day.
Did you have any daily habits that you put in your 6 to 10 plan that you found pivotal to keep you going?
One of the things that was really important for my treatment plan was blocking out time for these coping skills to practice them. One of the things I learned is that, coping skills are not really helpful if you just use them when you're already in distress. They are something that you need to practice when you're not in distress, so your brain learns how to manage things better. And so, even positive affirmations, which again, I thought were silly in the beginning, there's science behind that, and it does help your brain to change. So having those, doing EFT tapping was helpful for me. The 5 senses grounding was helpful for me. And also hydration, not forgetting to hydrate. So actually setting aside time that's you need to drink water right now, which sounds so simple and silly, but I had to do that in order to remind myself that this was something important for my healing. And snacks. The dietitian, told me something that I'll never forget. It's if you have the opportunity to eat something that is not necessarily what you consider to be super healthy, or to not eat at all, eat the thing. Because for me, it's important for me to eat frequently throughout the day. And so now I'm a snacker, which I never was before.
How did you manage self-doubt or fear during tough times during treatment?
One of the ways I managed self-doubt during tough times in treatment was knowing that there are a lot of people in my life who don't doubt me. I am very lucky that I have a strong support system, and because I think I was open with my struggles, there were so many people that were rooting for me and cheering me on and reminding me that they believed that I was capable. So that was really helpful for me, because I wasn't always able to see that in myself, and I thought I'm not able to do this. And having those voices in my head of friends and family saying, no, you can, you are strong and capable and you can do that. That was really helpful for me in those moments where I couldn't find that for myself.
Do you feel like having that strong family and friend support outside of Solstice helped you with your success in program?
Oh, absolutely. Having a strong support system outside of Solstice is so important. And in addition to that, having those people be a part of your treatment, knowing what you need and what you're doing while you're in the program is important, so that they can help you, when you go home. There were times where I would have such extreme anxiety and I would be on the verge of panic, and my mom, I had given her a list of things that we could do that would help me in those moments. And so she'd be like, let's pull out the note, let's do this coping skill, let's do this grounding technique. And having someone there to remind me of that, because when you're in those moments of distress, sometimes you're not capable of remembering what you're supposed to do. So her being informed was so important. And I shared that information with other people as well, so that I felt surrounded by, people on my team.
Mm-hmm. What did it look like having that family support in Solstice, during your sessions?
So one of the things that is also unique about Solstice is that they do include your support system, and they ask who that is. It might be a partner or a parent or a child, and they bring them into family sessions so that they get the same type of education that you're getting about your treatment and about what you need. And I think that is so incredibly important, because when you eventually leave program, you need to have people who understand, what that process was like, and what healthy behaviors and other things look like for you. So I don't think that every type of program incorporates the family and the support system in the same way. And knowing what I know now, I don't know how you can be successful without that.
And then now I'm going to make you choose. Who or what was your biggest source of support while you were in program?
I don't know that I could name one person that was my biggest source of support. I am surrounded by a fairly large community of people, and I know that I'm lucky in that way. I don't take that for granted, and I also think that because I was very open with my struggles, it allowed people to love on me and support me the way that I needed to be supported, because I was open about what was going on. So I don't know that I could select one person or one source, but it really, I think that like true healing and success in this program requires a village of people. And whether that is your biological family or family that you've adopted or your providers, whoever it is, having other human beings who are on your side is crucial.
What changes did you start noticing in yourself during your time at Solstice?
Some of the changes I started noticing in myself was just like my overall sense of calmness that kind of didn't exist for a really long time. Like my sort of baseline of anxiety was so high that I kind of forgot what it felt like to be able to relax. And so I feel like I started noticing when all of these, all of the things from treatment started actually working, I could like sit and watch a movie without having 5 million thoughts running through my head and have to get up and do something else to kind of distract from, being uncomfortable, and just like better rest and waking up and feeling more capable of taking on the day. There was this like absence of fear that always kind of lived there of like, what if this happens? What if I panic? What if? And I feel like that all just started getting less and less, and I felt a lot more present, and I could listen to people when they're talking to me and not be trying to listen to them and listen to all the thoughts in my own head. So that was kind of like a slow thing that happened, and then I just started recognizing it and being really, really aware of how much I had been struggling up until that point.
How did this experience shape your mindset or goals?
I think one of the ways this experience has shaped my mindset and my goals for the future is I want to be much more aware of what other people are going through. When you're struggling with severe mental health issues, you become very self-centered. I don't think it's on purpose, but you can't get out of your own thoughts and feelings. It's very overwhelming. And so I feel like I was so focused on myself and worried about my own well-being that I wasn't able to really care for people the way that I wanted to. And so being in group and recognizing that everybody's going through something, and there's a scale of how bad that might be. I want to make sure that when I interact with people, whether it's in my job or my nonprofit work or just one-on-one in relationships, that I'm recognizing and checking in with the person to see where they're at so that I can respond accordingly. And I'm really grateful for that experience so that I feel like I can just be a better friend and partner and human being.
What are you most proud of today?
I think I am most proud of myself for prioritizing my health and actually making the decision to set aside time to get better. I, for so many years, lived thinking, it's not that bad because I can still do all the things I'm supposed to do. I'm getting everything done, and like, is it hard? Yes, but it's fine. And I didn't recognize the fact that I wasn't being the best version of myself for me or for anyone else that I was interacting with, because I felt like if I took time aside or away from those things or those people, that felt selfish. And in reality, it was selfish of me not to take the time because I wasn't being able to give 100% to anything I was doing. So I'm most proud of myself for being able to recognize that and actually doing it, even though at the time it seemed like I didn't necessarily know it was the right thing to do. I just had to do something different. I knew there had to be a change, and I took a risk, and I'm a very risk-averse person. So for me to do that and risk the financial impact and sacrifice things and give up things that I didn't want to give up, in the end, it was the best thing I could have done, and I'm proud of my ability to recognize that and actually do it.
And looking back, what surprised you most about your strength or ability to adapt?
For so long in my life, there were so many things that I just kind of accepted about myself. For example, like not being able to take elevators. I didn't see the problem with that. I can just take the stairs. Y'all take the elevator, I'll meet you up there. It's not that big of a deal. So many things like that. Oh, I have a problem if this dish doesn't feel clean enough to eat on. What's the problem if I just wash it again? The problem is if you accept those things as okay, it just kind of, it's a slippery slope. And you can, over time, there will be more things that you think, oh, it's okay that I can't do that. It's okay that I feel anxious about that. And so, when I started the program, I couldn't take the elevator to get up here, and now I take elevators all the time. I found that strength and that ability, and it sounds like such a silly thing.
Looking back, what surprised you most about your ability to grow during your time at Solstice?
I think what surprised me the most about my ability to grow and adapt in my time at Solstice is there were things that I didn't even realize I was accommodating because of my anxiety and OCD. You live long enough with these things and you start to just accept like, oh, it's okay that I can't do that thing. It's okay that I can't take the elevator, I'll just take the stairs. It's okay that I have to wash a dish more than once to feel safe eating on it. It's okay. And as I started to heal and as I was on this journey and learned more about my diagnoses and what was possible, it surprised me that I was actually able to overcome even those simple things that I had just accepted as like, they're okay for me. And I pushed myself. I found strength and motivation to push myself to actually overcome those fears, which may not have been that big of a deal, but to me, it felt like, you know what? No, if I'm capable of being better, why not do it? And I found that here, and I don't think I would have been motivated to do that otherwise.
What has life been like since completing the program?
Since completing the program, my life hasn't changed so much in the things that I do from what I was doing prior to the program. I'm still, I'm a hairstylist. I run my own business. I also run a local nonprofit scholarship program for women, and I'm involved in a lot of volunteer work. I do, little side gigs here and there to pay the bills. I still keep incredibly busy, but the difference is I'm actually able to enjoy all of the things that I'm doing. I think I was sort of always half there mentally and emotionally because I was struggling so much internally. And so, life is good. It's much more enjoyable and feels like things are simpler. It's not so complicated.
How do you stay connected to recovery or personal growth today as an alumni?
One of the ways, unique ways that I'm able to stay connected to recovery is because I'm able to come back and facilitate groups, actually. After graduating, I was asked if I would like to come back and facilitate art groups. That was one of the groups that I most enjoyed while I was here, and also because I have an art background, I obviously said a very quick yes, I would love to do that. And so it's really great because it brings me back into this space. I think it's helpful for other patients to be able to see that, I was once a patient here, and it's encouraging to see people who have come out of the program and who feel like they're doing really well. And it's also really helpful for me because it just reminds me to stay connected to, what it takes to continue the journey and to stay healthy. So it's a reminder when I get to interact with patients and with the staff here, it's a reminder to me that, I still have to be diligent to make sure that I'm doing the right things, to make sure that I stay healthy in the future.
How has community or alumni support played a role for you?
You know, one of the most unexpected things about being here at Solstice was making friends. I didn't come here thinking that was something that I needed or even wanted. I have a lot of people in my life already. But in group, it's a very unique situation to be in. And so the people that you experience that with, you have a connection that's different than you have with anyone else. So I've been able to keep in contact with a lot of my cohorts, and it's great because, again, it serves as a reminder, kind of like a check-in, just kind of where we've been and where we're going and what's important. And so I'm so grateful for those relationships and for staying connected.
And what goals or plans do you have that you're excited about now?
So in the past 6 months, I have decided to apply to grad school for a Master of Social Work program, and I'm incredibly excited about the potential there. The opportunity to work in the mental health field is something I'm very, very excited about. So hopefully that works out. Even if it doesn't, I would love to find a way to stay involved with the mental health field. I like to help people. I like to share my experience and help encourage people to get treatment, because it does work. If you find the right providers and the right plan, you can live a life that you never even imagined was possible. So I'm excited about the possibility of being more involved in the mental health field.
What's one lesson you learned the hard way but are grateful for now?
One lesson I learned the hard way is, the only way out is through. There's not really a way around the struggles of mental health. You may be able to take a medication that alleviates some of your symptoms temporarily. You may be able to distract yourself, but realistically, avoiding treatment or avoiding the hard stuff is not going to help you in the long run. So especially with my treatment of my OCD, I realized that, exposure and response prevention therapy is the only way to get better, which means you have to do the things that you fear the most. And in the long run, it works, but it's not fun. And the hard stuff is inevitable. It's gonna get harder before it gets easier, but it will get easier.
What would you say to someone currently struggling?
First and foremost, I would say to someone who's struggling, I'm so sorry. I'm sorry, because I know what it's like. And I would say, it may not seem this way, but it doesn't have to be this way. This can be a temporary thing. If you seek help, if you let people know that you're struggling, it doesn't have to be this hard.
What's one practical step someone could take today to start their healing journey?
One practical step you could take to start your healing journey, if you haven't already, is just tell someone, one person, that you're struggling and that you need help. We're not really able to make great decisions for ourselves when we're in distress. So allowing someone else to be in on that information and help you is one of the most important things you can do. And beyond that, looking for professional help it can seem daunting, but every day if you take one step toward getting help, eventually you'll get there and you'll find the right people.
What's one piece of advice you'd give someone considering treatment?
Do it. My advice for someone considering treatment is, it is worth it. It may seem really difficult. It may seem unmanageable. It may seem like it's selfish. There could be 100 reasons why it seems like not the right thing to do. But at the end of the day, if you're struggling with your mental health and you are not getting the help that you need, you're not able to be the best version of yourself. And that hurts not only you, but everyone around you. So you're not being the best parent, the best child, the best friend, partner, any of that. You're not capable of being the best version of you and giving 100% of yourself. And so taking the time to go to treatment so you can be better is the best thing that you can do. And it's not selfish. It makes everything better for everyone around you. And it's hard, but it's so worth it.
And how has your definition of resilience changed over time?
I don't think resilience is something that you necessarily think about until you're faced with something where you need it. So I'm not sure I thought much about the word resilience, but the reality of it is you can't build resilience without facing adversity or trauma or tragedy. That's the only way you learn how to get through it and adapt and come out on the other end. So it's one of those things where, it's not something that you want to have, but once you do, you are so much of a stronger and better person because of it.
What is one of the biggest lessons you learned in PHP?
One of the biggest lessons I learned in PHP is time doesn't really present itself for the things that you sometimes want or need to do. So you have to set an intentional schedule if you want to incorporate certain things. I learned that includes, self-care, or time to practice coping skills, or time to eat, because sometimes I'm the person who would forget to eat and then wonder later why I felt terrible. So PHP forced me in being here for 8 hours, having a set schedule that, sometimes you want freedom, you want the ability to make choices like on a whim, but realistically, if you don't make a schedule for yourself, nothing good gets done. So now I have to schedule in time for all these things that either need to be done or that I want to be able to do, because time doesn't just open up in life.
What does integrative care mean to you?
Integrative care means taking the whole person into consideration and treating, the physical, diet, exercise, hydration, sleep, the emotional, the mental, social, and even spiritual aspects of someone's life. They're all important in treating someone as a whole. And you can't just treat the symptoms, you can't just treat the diagnoses. It's really important to incorporate all of those aspects. And so I think that's something that Solstice does really, really well and makes them unique.
How did specific therapies or treatments support your journey?
One of the specific treatments that supported my journey was TMS, and specifically MERT. MERT, I think, is a game changer, being a non-invasive, non-pharmaceutical treatment that has very little negative side effects and almost always some beneficial outcome. I really hope that it becomes something that is more regularly used and that insurance will cover for people, because it can treat an array of mental health circumstances. And for me, I think, it's obviously not the one thing that made the biggest difference, but it speeds up your brain's ability to adopt all of these new pathways and behaviors. And I think it was really crucial to my treatment.
Would you recommend Solstice to others? And if you would, why?
I would recommend Solstice to others, and I have, actually. This program is incredibly unique. I did not do a PHP or IOP program through any other treatment facilities. However, I have heard from a lot of other patients who have gone to many other places that this is special. It's different. The way that they organize the program, the way that your providers are on your team and supportive of you, the way they incorporate family into your treatment plan, all of that. And the integrative care and really taking into account the whole person and every aspect of their life. It's very special. I've said this before, even for people who aren't struggling with mental health issues, I think it would be great if everyone could come here because there's so much to learn and so many things that are so beneficial to just being a better person.
And then if you could finish the sentence for me, recovery is always possible with the right support system. What is the biggest lesson you learned at Solstice?
The biggest lesson I learned at Solstice is you can change your brain with practice. I truly didn't know that. I think it's possible for a lot of people to think like this is just how my brain works. And it's incredible that you can actually make choices and behaviors that will change the way your brain works.
What is something you're proud of?
Something I'm proud of is not giving up when things are hard.
What is a message to someone who feels stuck right now?
A message I would give to someone who feels stuck right now is it doesn't have to be this way forever. This is temporary. It may feel permanent. It may feel like you could be stuck here indefinitely, but be hopeful that there is opportunity for better and brighter things.